What is good, everybody? You are tuned in to another episode of Chopping It Up with Q podcast Envy. I still keep saying I gotta change this title, but she won't let me. But anyways, it's your man Q V in the building.
And we couldn't think of a good name for it, and that's why we didn't change it. So don't blame this on me.
You didn't know that you're in charge. You know how it goes. We always got to blame the lady because y'all supposed to be in charge of everything. Y'all supposed to make us, right people and good men. Isn't that how it goes?
Well, we have a fantastic, already put together man on the podcast as a guest today. So y'all, please help us welcome back D Murph to the show, friend of the show. Curator of other shows.
Appreciate y'all, VJ and Q. It's good to be back on with y'all great peoples.
Man, what's good, man? How you living?
Hey, man, it's another great weekend. Just kicking back, man. As I told you offline, getting ready to plan for my birthday / 2-year anniversary in this podcast game. So I'm truly excited, man. Some dope things to come up, man, next few weeks.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, Murph gonna be turning, 21 again. And, big shout outs to that.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, I still, it's actually funny. Who was that posted that? Was it UV? Posted the picture when everybody came up for my birthday a couple years. Man, so it's weird that it was like almost was that
a year ago?
Yeah, it was a year
ago. A year ago.
Man, too.
Well, damn, nigga, how old do you think you are?
Shit, I don't know. I lose count, man.
It was like a year ago. Like, how long do you think I've known you? Like, yeah, it's going through some things.
So you saying you ain't never had a moment with people? Man, hold on, how old are you again? You be like, wait, man, hold on, how old am I? I don't know.
Listen,
man.
Listen, when you get to my age, you gotta really try to keep track.
Talking about get your age, with you a minute.
I'm about to say our age, then, if that's the case.
Well, I gotta keep track. I'm out here trying to plug along, trying to catch me a new man. Listen, I got to keep track. Y'all don't have to do all that. I got to keep track.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh man, but nah, it was funny, man, because I just remember that was the night when we all went out, and man, that was actually pretty dope. It's the first time you get to see a lot of people just really being themselves in their element. It was actually pretty dope, man. So hey,
we'll have to do it again. Shouts out to Geronimo and Drinking Partners and Avery from People Talk Daily and Soul of a Hustler and Danny from the Danny and Cleo Show and Beatrice Films because they had their event Good Vibes Only Tour this past Saturday. That's Sorry that we did not get to make it, but we were there in spirit and we saw a lot of Dallas's finest podcasters were out and about having a good time. So it was dope to see so many people show love. And,
man. And Geronimo, man, don't be mad at me. Alicia made me buy stuff for the house, so I had to spend the money I was going, use to go out there. So that's right. I gotta blame the missus just because it gets me off the hook.
Help us, we're poor.
Man, you already know what I say. I got kids, and that make me poor automatically. It seems like no matter how much money you make, you always like, damn, man, shit. These kids always gotta eat, but it's
facts.
I have a god kid. Does that count? He eats a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can always give them back. You're like, what, take this. Return the sender, that type of stuff.
Yeah, but then he always calls something he wants or needs something, and I'm the one that gets it. Like I just dropped $250 on one of those 3-in-1 bounce towels combination water slide joints for his birthday in 2 weeks. Like,
oh man.
Well, happy birthday to the nephew. Happy Leo season. Also,
that's why he's crazy. Y'all Leo's got problems. That's why he feel like he can get on the phone and just demand a water slide. Crazy.
That's because you let him. But nah,
Because if I don't, he might beat me. I don't know. Hell, Leos are crazy.
Are not crazy. That bad. You know what? I'm gonna say this when we link up, VJ. We're gonna talk more about this Leo and characteristics and traits that is gonna be good. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Happy birthday again, nephew, godson. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Y'all say all the signs are crazy in somewhere for Ash. it seems like that, boy.
They aren't all crazy, but I will say this: I don't fare well with Leos if I am dating them. Like that and other Capricorns, we don't do well together. So it's not that y'all are crazy. I just don't feel like I want to be in a position where I want to run you over with my car all the time. And then I have to be afraid that you want to run me over with your car. Like, it just ends up being like a really, really horrible, like, spy versus spy from Mad TV. Like, that's what I envision it being. So I stay away from you.
Yeah, that could go terrible quick. Yeah, this sounds awful.
It sounds horrible, right? So I just don't do it. But that's beside the point. So happy early birthday to all you Leo people in Leo season, because it's also, my mom's also a Leo. She's on the cusp.
Hey!
And so we are doing a Vegas casino party for her mid-month, and so she's going to celebrate all month. So she's about to gear up to start partying for 30 or so straight days. So if I just sound tired the rest of the month, then you know what it is.
If I say somebody got to come out and rescue you because you're like, I can't move. I can't get to where I need to be.
If I'm Snapchatting IG videos, if I'm just blinking rapidly, it's Morse code. It's help. Like, I'm requesting help. I'm smiling in the picture, but I'm requesting help.
Hey, man. Hey, because you already know those parties at your spot be live. Everybody be up to about 3 in the morning, like they don't have lives, and then
your ass was here too, up to 3.
I know.
Like, you didn't have no life.
Hey, I'm not saying excluding myself from that statement. No.
Which means Murph has to come next time.
There you go.
No doubt. Again, you just let me know. It's a very good chance I'm going to be there. That's all. Just let me know in advance.
Boom. There you go. Murph, how was your weekend?
Oh, good. Kind of not upset, but preparing for another work week. So you know how that go.
I do.
I try not to talk about that too much on other shows because it just makes me realize how much I love what we do in this podcast game and just the power of our voices. So, yeah, shout out to y'all. Thank y'all again for having me on.
Hey, man, no doubt. Look, and I already know work is going to be rough for me because I had to do this another week of EMR training, which means I did nothing related to my job. So I know it's going to be a train wreck when I get back, but hey, it is what it is.
Hey, man,
job security.
I didn't check a single email for 2.5 days because I was running reports for the sales team because they were in town, because none of them are stationed here. They're stationed in their respective regions, so they don't live here. They're in town for a week. Everybody's at their beck and call, including people that normally don't talk to them that often, including me. So now that they're gone, maybe I can do some actual work. So if y'all hear me complaining next week about the 1,000 emails I have, you know why.
Oh, man. It is crazy, though, because and that's another thing. So it's like work is work, but like when you do podcasts, it don't feel like a job. It's like, I don't know. I always say it like this: if you know it's fun for you, you don't realize how fast an hour goes by. Just
absolutely.
And before you know it, you're like, oh shoot, hey man, we got to cut this combo out. We got to do a part 2 because we are at minute 30. So look, come back. That type of thing. So.
That's why you got 10 shows, Q.
Nah, man.
That's all right. I'm finna make a whole other show where I just sit up and talk shit about Q.
You know what? That's cool. It's probably warranted.
It's just gonna be me complaining about.
And let me tell you what else this nigga,
this nigga did.
So much love.
You're gonna be having people like, oh, y'all really related? Because y'all show act
like y'all got a good bond though, and I'm just saying, I'm being real. That's good, man, for y'all to be in this game as long as y'all have and still kicking it. That's huge. So I applaud y'all for real.
Man, thank you. This is my nigga if he don't get no bigger, which he not gonna get no bigger, so he's still my nigga.
Wow. Hey, look, I know a nigga short out here, but it's all good. You don't be.
Well, I mean, you still taller than me, so it's cool. So it's all right. It's all love.
Yeah, that's why. Where they say y'all little ladies are mean, just like I know mine is. She mean and ornery. Matter of fact, so
just feed her. It's fine.
It don't count because then I got to do more. Because
if you feed her and rub her hair and tell her she's pretty, then you won't. I promise you it'll work. Just try it out and then come back and tell me how it worked. Everybody's gonna be happy. Watch.
It don't go along with my personality because I'm just a shit starter regardless. So even if I know it's the right thing to do, I mean, I'm just saying, even if I know it's the right thing to do and I could do it, I'm be like, you know what?
See, why don't you be more like the big homie Murph? Why don't you just be nice to your wife? How about that?
I am nice sometimes.
See, why can't you just be nice?
It takes hard work, though. It really does. And Q, you former athlete, you know, it's 10 a days when you married.
What?
Checking throughout the day, all that fun stuff.
It's like, see, I even tried to have a friendly card game with her. You know, we was in there playing Phase 10 the other day. She want to start cheating. Because I was just like, hey, hold on, how come you always end up with all the wild cards? But, you know, every time you deal, you just end up with these types of hands. What's going on? Then when I won, she didn't want to admit that I won. She said she still won if we were taking scores. So I'm like, but we weren't. She was like, so if we were taking score, I would have won.
That I've learned, you, in my experience in marriage, a woman is entitled to change her mind.
But that don't mean you're supposed to let her cheat.
I don't know. Does
where was y'all at when I was married? I could have used somebody. Let me cheat and just.
You know me. You know. Now I'm going to say something just to let you know I know, and that you got caught. As far as a card game or anything competitive, but after that, I'm not going to stretch it out.
I feel that.
Because I'm going to lose.
I feel it.
I stretch
you can't make it into a big deal. All right,
exactly.
I got you.
I'm going to address it, but I'm going to stop it right after that.
Just let it ride. I got you.
That's it. And then move on. I'm just saying.
I'm learning.
Well, you know something that they have not just let die down, and they're continuing to stretch out.
What's that?
All of this outrage about the NFL protests.
Yeah, that's real.
I'm digging that segue, though. I'm loving that one.
You like that? Hey.
It's almost like you've done this before.
You know what? Sometimes.
She said she's going to get her own show. She getting ready, man.
Hey, you know what? I feel
that. But no, they are still on the subject of these NFL protests, and apparently, despite whatever the collective bargaining agreement has been, Jerry Jones has just flat out said, "Look, guys, we're not doing that. I don't care what they got to say about it. My niggers are going to be on the field with their arms linked, standing proud and tall."
Basically,
real. Yep.
I mean, he just said that without so many words. It's like, my expectations are they will stand. Yo, what? Like, I'm a grown ass man. What you mean, your expectations?
And then I believe, who else? I believe our young quarterback there, Dak, came out and said that he just kind of thought that the protests were inappropriate. I believe was the term he used, that the protests were inappropriate. And I guess that he is siding with Jerry Jones on this. And I wanted to get Murph's thoughts about that.
Well, first off, you summed it up just doing the introduction or beginning of the segue. I just think that Dak disappointing a lot of people, include me. I understand, and I was going to talk about this a few weeks from now, so I'm going to kind of give you guys kind of a snippet, but when you are the face of the team, you and the owner can not always agree, like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, as well as their owner. They bump heads, but they know the common ground is to win. I feel if Dak speak up for the culture and for what's going on in our society and let Jerry Jones know, yo, this is what I believe in. If he worried about his pockets, then he might not be the man to, not like we think he is. Now, on the flip side, they say he mixed. So we can't put, quote unquote, too much pressure on him when he's not fully African American or black. On the flip side, on top of that, Colin Kaepernick, they basically similar. So it's kind of hard, but overall, I think Dak, in my opinion, should step up more and not doing what everybody else do in our society, is following the CEO or the high authority say so without challenging the process.
I would say this. I don't know if this is, maybe relevant to this whole situation, but even just think about ourselves plenty of times. how many times were you fairly new, and I'm talking about like within the first 5 years, and you just don't want to rock the boat? You're like, I'm just go in and I don't want to cause no friction or no trouble, so I'm just be on the radar, and if someone asks me, I'm going to answer in the way I feel they want me to answer. I don't know if that's the situation, but...
I mean, he's still under his rookie contract. So... I guess my next question would be, I mean, because I would say it's very similar to the Kaepernick situation. Do you think that seeing how Colin Kaepernick was treated, do you think that has an effect on the way he is responding?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I tell people, including myself, if you have an opportunity to save or invest in other things, if something does happen to your job or you get laid off or fired or take a leave of absence, you still have a cushion. And with Dak making that much money,
he should be good.
I feel like that's my point. So I don't agree with it.
No. And I do think, because here's what happens in a lot of those situations. They're going to take a few people and use them as examples. But my whole thing is, like, unless they're planning on shutting down the whole league, they can't punish everybody. I'm just saying. And that's
even the Jets owner a few months back said if they get fined, he's going to pay those fines.
Yeah. And that's because of the way they signed the initial anthem rule was done under the table, and they didn't feel like it was ethical. So they were like, nah, we kind of, because I think they even left it up to the owners to vote on, and a lot of them didn't. So. Because
I think you're towing a very, very fine line there. As an owner, you still are in somewhat of a leadership position, especially in the communities that the team you own are a part of. And so you don't ever want to put yourself in a position where, yes, you are these people's bosses and yes, you're signing their checks. But if it gets to the point where the unrest is too much, then you risk having a whole locker room full of people that are like, fuck it, we'll all kneel. You can't punish all of us. Who cares? And then it looks poorly. I mean, their ratings are already down across the board as far as the NFL is concerned. Yep. And so I think that it just kind of puts you in a position where you have to decide what's more important. Because because that's the same with anybody else's job, right? If you work somewhere and the company culture is shitty and you feel like the morals or integrity of the company make for a shitty place to work, it undermines everybody. Everyone is walking around with a crazy face all day. Nobody wants to work there. And it just becomes a really poor kind of place to work.
Yep.
I mean, and especially when we're talking about it in sports, nobody wants to play anywhere where morale is low. That's important, especially when we're talking about building a team and them having to work together and having a good bond. And if everyone's mad at the owner, everybody's pissed off because they can't protest and they feel like you don't care about their rights as a human being or about the rights of their, collective people, then it just becomes this whole giant thing where it's like the locker room is in disarray. And how are you supposed to win like that?
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like they never... It's just so funny when it comes to things like sports and the people who are in charge of them and run these things. They're so arrogant to the point to where they would. I remember a while back, it kind of plays into how some of these owners think when they had the discussion of if players should be paid in college. I believe it was a athletic director who stated that if they were to approve the right for players to get paid, we're just going to stop playing altogether. We're just not going to play any sports. It was either an AD or it was someone who was affiliated with the NCAA. Well, not the NCAA.
But they did so they can get more money. It's free labor.
You're right. And people don't think of it that way because you're still a student, even though we know how much they care about those degrees, and that's a whole other discussion. Right. But that's the arrogance of how these NFL players are now. These owners, because they'll say, well, if you don't want to act right, we'll find someone to replace you. There's people to come in here.
Well, who makes up the majority? The players. If the players stand together, unite, man, they can have the league right where they want them. They have the leverage.
They could.
But when you got the Jets owner saying, yeah, I'll pay the fines, and then you got the Cowboys owner like, no, y'all standing, that's already a sign that this league, to VJ's point, is not on the same page, and it's going to be tough for them locker rooms and the league as a whole.
Yes. It's going to be and I think what happens is, outside of sports like the NBA, the NFL is one of those sports where the players have like very little overall control. Or they could, but they don't express it as much because of they don't have guaranteed contracts, because of the short career span and all these other things that they are afraid of, allegedly. But I don't know, man. I'm one of those ones. I don't know how many jobs I didn't quit because I'm not the one. I'm not saying it's the best approach, and but I'm just saying there are some. Yeah, but there's some things you have to stand up for, regardless.
Right. Absolutely.
Well,
you will fall for anything.
I agree, but I think for them it's one of those things where we were talking about it all kinds of plays together, because if they played in college, a lot of them do not have these degrees to fall back on because they went and played 1 or 2 years and that's it. They aren't going back and getting these degrees. They aren't necessarily investing this money as they should. So then when they're done playing over a very short, time, because their career span is not extremely long in that sport, then they're just kind of stuck. Like if they haven't invested properly, then they don't have any money. So they really aren't in a place where they can necessarily jeopardize their career, because what do you do after that? Especially if you haven't invested properly. So it's like, where does that leave you? Because for the common person, if I decide I'm, like you said, if I'm just like, they got me effed up, I will never come back here to this job. You can burn a bridge and get 1,000 other jobs.
Yeah. But there's only one NFL.
There's only one NFL. There's only one NFL. They ain't got nowhere else to go. Canada? Like, where else they gonna go play?
Yeah, and I think that's another issue within itself, because the fact that they do have a monopoly on that field. I mean, yeah, you're gonna go to Canada. Other than that, there's nowhere else you can really play American style football outside. I think there's like one place in China, but who's gonna go to China to play football?
Right. Exactly. You're saying the market for that is just not as large. And so when they're talking in terms of trying to protect their livelihood, I can see why maybe they're more reticent to protest. But like Murph was saying, look, if all of you get together, you outnumber the owners. So what are they going to do? Trade you all? Cut you all? Like they can't.
They're going to send everybody to Cleveland.
Everybody. All the teams, everybody on every team just gonna go to Cleveland, and y'all gonna have to battle it out for those spots, and then the rest of y'all not gonna play. So it's just gonna be the Cleveland Browns versus the Cleveland Browns, and they just gonna scrimmage. And they gonna scrimmage all season, and that's what we gonna watch. Cleveland Browns television.
Oh man! I mean, speaking of Cleveland, your boy Dez, which was actually funny. David talks about him going to Cleveland, which Cleveland might actually be competitive this year. But not only that, apparently he's still being talked about in Dallas. And that's that whole situation too, where some of the along the lines of basically, I think it was Stephen Jones. I think it's his son, correct?
Jerry Jones?
Yeah, Jerry Jones' son is Stephen Jones, I believe, correct? So. All right, so basically he went on a radio show and said something along the lines, and I quote, Dak is working on his game and accuracy. He has to trust the system, Jones said. I think that was tough last year with Dez in his ear. I think he'll have the year he had in 2016, if not better. So, to an extent, it sounds like they were trying to blame Dez Bryant or place some blame on him on how Dak performed on last year. So, of course, you already know Lufkin's finest. When he wasn't about to sit down with that one. So, of course, he went back at him and along the lines of talking about how they're trying to use him as a scapegoat. They got more than one, if you're calling the same plays all the time, blah, blah, blah. And he even went up, called one of his teammates like a snake and everything. So, why do they keep going at Dez? Like, what's the issue there? Are they
easy really target? He's an easy target. Easy.
He is, like you said, he's a scapegoat. He's absolutely correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm just like the hugest Dez fan that ever lived or whatever, because let's be honest, the motherfucker dropped a lot of passes. Like, we're not going to sit here and play and act like he don't have the fumble fingers or whatever.
Oh, no.
But, I mean, so, so I'm not going to play and act like he just out here catching everything that got thrown to him, but he also is not the person throwing the ball. You know what I'm saying? He's not the one making the decisions about what plays are called. So to say that he's in his ear, what is he saying? Throw me the ball? Okay, well then, what about the times he didn't get the ball? What about the times the plays were called? What about the sacks? What What about a poor offensive line? What are we talking about here? In the grand scheme of things, Dez has been the same person over his career in Dallas, more or less, as far as his behavior and his attitude. So what is he saying to Dak that he said to anybody else is different? I don't see that he got any more plays or made for him or any more throws sent his way with Dak as the quarterback versus anyone else. So I'm not sure what the fuck you're talking about.
Because he did the same with Tony Romo.
Sounds like I'm not sure. So whatever, he's not calling the plays. They already made it pretty clear that they don't give a fuck what he had to say when he was there. So I just don't understand. So were y'all letting him call the plays, or was he not calling the plays, or who was Dak calling the plays? Was I calling the plays? Who was calling them? Because y'all.
And he was kind of talking about the offensive play calls, which I've noticed that they ran a very simplistic, like they ran like 5 plays a game. That's another
because
story.
They were trying to get him acclimated to the system. So they absolutely run a very simplistic offense, like most people do when they are trying to kind of put a new spin. You're in rebuilding years, and everybody's fresh and new and shiny. You got a lot of freshmen, a lot of first years. You do run kind of a simplistic kind of playbook because you have to get them acclimated, and you add plays as you go, depending on how well they acclimate to what you have. So that makes sense. No, that makes 100% sense, but to blame it on somebody that's not even there anymore and say that now that's the reason that that wasn't the reason that he was playing poorly. Y'all ran the same 5 plays when he proved that he was probably capable of running more plays than that, and then y'all wonder why y'all got stopped to death.
It just reminds me of a lot of situations, because everybody has been in this situation where either some type of relationship ended and everything was your fault. The reason it went poorly was because something that you did or didn't do. Everybody been there, correct?
Facts.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Big facts. Yeah, now that the relationship's over, it done ended badly, and now you bad-mouthing the person to everybody you can find when everybody that you're bad-mouthing them to saw the relationship play out.
Oh, don't
we all saw it, but now it's you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's like watching people have a shitty breakup, knowing they shouldn't have been together, and then watching one of them just throw the other one under the bus. When we all know.
Like, it's like you don't remember I was there when this transpired. I saw all of it. But
Jesus,
time will reveal itself. Everything will be out in the open as time go on. That's real.
Revisionist history, but that is the Cowboys' way. They was Jerry. They in there snorting coke. They was doing coke, doing lines of coke in the locker room all through the 80s and early 90s. Everybody was going to jail, but you mad about. Okay, you know what? Next topic, Lord.
I'm saying.
Jesus.
Now, that's what, that NFL talk. We can talk about that for a whole show.
We're going to leave that alone, because them people had enough coke circulating around that locker room to keep the whole entire country of Colombia in good faith that everybody on a goddamn yacht. But all of a sudden, okay.
Yeah, why y'all think they had the nickname Cocaine Cowboys back in the, never mind.
Hey, Michael Irvin's in the hotel.
I'm about to say, they got a great that was admitted to having some challenges with drugs in his playing career. Mm-hmm. So,
we all know what's up. Now, I guess we're going to move on, and I guess we're talking about scapegoats, and people always trying to, I guess, redirect blame from themselves. Y'all checked out R. Kelly's new joint?
I did this, I did that. Don't blame me. You don't know me. I admit. In a nutshell, that's what it is.
19 minutes of tragedy.
How do you write a 19-minute song? It's either
first, just pause. Hold on. Let me just insert this. Let me clean my glasses. First of all, he's illiterate, so he ain't writing nothing. So let's just get that out there.
Yeah, okay. Now, I feel you that.
Now continue. Okay. Go ahead.
But no, it was funny. So I read some of the lyrics, and even me and my homie Eric, we were talking about it. And he sent me a part of the lyrics, and it was somewhere along the lines like, "You brought your girls to me," and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. So basically, he said, "Hey, you let me have your daughter. It ain't my fault." At least that's what I got from it. And I was like, this guy here is
that's interesting.
But
because rational people, that's like if I get on the internet Because the internet is a strange place and people will try to sell you anything if you let them. So if I get on the internet and I'm just perusing around and I'm just, I don't know, I'm shopping for clothes and I click on the Old Navy's kids section and then all of a sudden some weird message pops up. It's like, hey, I noticed you're looking at kids clothes. I can sell you a 7-year-old boy. It's fucking child trafficking. I don't care if they're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 14, 16. If somebody offers you their child for sex, it is a fucking felony. It don't matter how the kid got to you. Y'all both wrong.
I guess he was like, sure, yeah, I'll teach him how to sing. But see, here's the reason why.
Oh, Jesus.
When people, here's the reason why when we talk about different things, because I'm one of those ones. If I hear some allegations of somebody, I'm like, okay, I listen for the facts. R. Kelly has proven since the 90s that he was a weirdo. There was plenty of evidence against this guy. And I still am confused, because I want to say with that whole sex tape scandal, I don't know if the people involved just stopped cooperating or how that worked, but we knew that was him.
He peed on the person signed to his label that he had helped launch her career. He repaid, he decided that, her gratitude for getting a record contract and, wanting to make hit records wasn't enough for him. So then he decided he would help himself to her niece. And then when he got done pissing on her niece and they tried to press charges, the niece decided all of a sudden that she wasn't going to cooperate. So that is why.
That's why. Gotcha.
So it's awfully hard to prosecute somebody when the witness to the crime, person that got peed on, was like, nah, dog, I don't know what you're talking about.
See, but even then, I'm looking at it like, and I guess because I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm like, you have the videos, because I think it was 3 girls or that we know of.
Well, they couldn't they couldn't definitively prove it was him in the video, and unless the other person in the video can say, hey, I was there and yes, that's him, then what do you have? I mean, this is the 90s. We're not talking about facial recognition or any of that. So,
but yeah, and then there was a whole I remember they kept saying he didn't do it, but I remember he married Aaliyah when she was 16. And I mean,
she was 15.
Oh, 15. Okay.
She was 15, and they forged the birth certificate saying that she was 18 so they could get married. So clearly that means that you knew that it was wrong and you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly. So that's 2 felonies that he's already committed. So I'm like, that's what I'm saying. His track record shows,
exactly. That shit. Yep. That's real.
It's very shaky. And then he always does this. When he gets into trouble, he tries to come out with some inspirational record or something to deflect the fact that he done did some fucked up shit. Wasn't it when I Believe I Can Fly and you saved me and whatever?
Yeah.
And y'all just step in the name of love, and y'all just keep forgiving this man over and over and over. And I get it. You can love his music, and some of y'all can separate the person from the music. But my whole thing is this. He is able to do this because he has the means and the money to do this. Because if he was just a broke-ass black man living on the south side of Chicago, and people was reporting that he was just molesting their children and marrying underage girls, he would have been under the jail.
DJ, he said he was broke. He said he was broke. He said he don't have that much money.
Because he got 13 lawyers. Well, you would need 4 managers when you constantly got to tour and try to make up the money for all the gifts that you got to keep giving to people in your sex cult to keep them from telling on you. If I keep having to buy 13-year-old girls now or later than McRibs, I'd be broke too.
I mean, just think about
how many fucking My Little Pony backpacks can one nigga buy over 30?
I'm sure Amazon is loving him. They like, oh, you need another? Oh, you need some more?
Shit, you done supplied every goddamn girl in the fucking Chicago area with everything the little girls like to get them to come to your house. Michael Jackson, okay. What you?
I mean, I would have to say, being his PR person is probably worse than being the Speaker of the House.
Oh, well, the last one quit. So
I know that's what I'm saying. I mean, think about it. You would too. You'd be like, wait, you did what now? Hey, look, all right, my nigga, look. I had benefit of the doubt before, but look, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm going ahead and bounce.
And that is the whole point. People can say what they want to say, and people love to get on this high horse and say, well, he was proven innocent. Sometimes the justice system gets it wrong. And to know that a lot of you like to pretend like that it only works in certain cases. Sometimes they lock up innocent black men, but sometimes they let ones that really did shit go free. I'm just saying it. Sometimes it works both ways.
But you know, people.
I know that's hard for y'all. I know it's hard. Y'all like to move the goalposts because y'all really like to step in the name of love or whatever. But just, I know y'all really like to do it. And I know 12 Play is the album that y'all mom and daddy made y'all to or whatever. Ooh, like, I get it. And I know y'all feel, and I know y'all feel a special way about it. And, you know, whatever. But the man was in the background of a fucking CD called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number with a 15-year-old girl on the front, being a creeper in the shadows, and then talking about she's got that vibe on his first album, and he specifically said she got that vibe, and she couldn't have been but 12. So what vibe does a 12-year-old give a grown man?
Hey, preach. I don't know.
He's a fucking predator. And
is that why public announcement left?
That's why all them people left, because they was tired of him being a predator. Sparkle was his artist. That was Sparkle's fucking niece. She left that after her first album. That's why she left his J Records or whatever it was. Yeah. He was under her label imprint. Now it's inactive because everybody left.
See, I'm sorry, man.
It's awfully hard for somebody to focus on helping you launch their career when every time you look up for studio time, it's some 12-year-old in there talking about he gonna teach me to sing.
Because I'm sorry. If it would have been my niece, my daughter, cousin, whoever, R. Kelly would be standing here right now. I'll go ahead. Look,
bang, bang, bang.
I'll take that fade. I'll just tell y'all, hey, lawyer me
fade.
Up. I'm just saying.
Fade. Fade.
Because I'm going to be out here on some street justice stuff. He ain't going to want to leave his house.
Fade? Oh, honey, you ain't got to worry about a fade. Fade?
I'm just saying.
R. Kelly couldn't take... R. Kelly couldn't touch nobody I know, no kind of, looked at, was Facebook friends with 3 years ago. None of that. Hey, R. Kelly's over there. Your goddaughter's in a picture with R. Kelly. Where is he at? Clink, clink.
Where he
at? Where is he at?
You roll up on him, look.
Turning that bitch. To quote the thespian Kevin Gates, I will turn this bitch to Afghanistan, no problem. Like, it makes no difference. Like, what... Why is y'all okay? But then again, you know what? It's not on that man completely because, like he said in the little ugly song,
these parents
y'all was bringing y'all's kids to him. So
and that is
so R. Kelly need to go to jail, and those people's parents need to go to jail with him.
That is another issue too because you got all these parents who trying to come up off their kids because they untalented. So,
but that's what I'm saying. What do you do as a parent? Like, here, R. Kelly, can you help her get a record deal and give him a wink? Like, I don't know how that go.
I don't either.
I think what it is that a lot of times they are. At first, now I don't know in the year of our Lord 2018 if people are sending their kids to him like that anymore. But there was a time when it was just an allegation. There was no proof. He was proven innocent. So people are like, oh well, he seems like a good person and he's a popular artist and he's R. Kelly. So if he wants to record with my daughter, then that ought to be okay. And so then they're sending their kids to him, and then when they realize that, oh, this is a lucrative business thing, or or my daughter comes back and says R. Kelly's trying to be inappropriate with me, then it's payouts and settlements because they don't want it to become public. R. Kelly is broke because R. Kelly has been paying people to keep quiet for years.
That's a lot.
And so if you're receiving payouts to keep quiet, then you've essentially pimped your child out to R. Kelly.
Yeah.
And at first it might have been about a record contract, but not all of these girls are that talented. So if he was really trying to be helpful, you would only be picking certain people and being like, yeah, I really think that she has a shot or she really is gifted, because the rest of them, why would you even bother? If your real plan was to try to build your record label, why would you care about the other ones? You wouldn't.
No.
Unless you're a fucking pedophile. So he's a pedophile, and these kids' parents are fucking sex traffickers, and they need to be in jail with his pedophile ass.
That's like when a lot of people were getting upset because when it came out that he was supposed to be engaged to this 19-year-old woman, and everybody was like, why y'all mad? She legal. I said, she is. But we know who he is, and I think that's the issue that people took with it. Because we know
Because we know that girl probably wasn't 19 when she started messing with him. And that is the problem. That is the part that people seem to overlook. He does not have a predilection for young girls that are 25 or 26 or 27. He has a predilection for 15-year-old girls. And what people seem to forget about preferential offenders, they have a very specific type. So with R. Kelly specifically, it is always going to be 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. And 17 is really on the high end and a bit of a stretch for him. So when you are a preferential offender, you will always look for those same types of people because you know that you can easily manipulate them. So yeah, he might have been marrying a 19-year-old, but how long has he been grooming her to marry her? How long has he been brainwashing her to marry her? And that's the part that people overlook. She's legal now, but how long has he been fooling with this girl before she was legal? R. Kelly didn't wake up and just decide he wanted to start dating older women.
I mean, this is also looking at it like this. Everybody remembers the BET interview.
Oh, Jesus!
And when he told on himself, and I know he was trying to be funny. When he was like, "Hey, do you like teenage girls?" and he was like, "Define teenage." Okay, sir, that's it.
Yeah.
Listen, what's his name? Torre, whatever the little whatever, whatever the light skinned dude is, bless him, because the face that he made when that man asked him to define teenager is the face that all of us made. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
You know what teenager means?
The answer is no. That's it.
The answer is never define teenager. The answer is always gonna be no. Do you like teenagers? No.
Yeah.
No, nobody likes teenagers. They're sociopaths. The only people that like teenagers are other teenagers.
And they sometimes don't even like them.
Just saying, look, if I ask somebody if they like teenagers, hell no. Do you help? Teenagers' parents don't even like them. What the fuck?
Thank you. Murph, you can say, there's plenty of times where you wanted to tell your child, be like, man, if you don't get out of my face, you lucky you mine.
Facts. And even
you belong to me.
Our circle. I mean, I've learned you have more patience with those you love.
True.
That's all. You know what I'm saying? Like you, Q, I got patience with you, Q. You know that? Just like you got patience with me, because I know we was going to record earlier in the morning, but I was like, yo, bro, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Can we do it later? And guess what? We're here. So thank you for your patience. But on the flip side, if you didn't, oh man, that boy Murph, he be reneging. He always rescheduling, man. I don't know why I rock with him. How you stress, right?
That's true. Which,
so that's how the game go, though, dog. So thank you.
Yeah, we could almost win, but somebody was being a heathen this morning and didn't go to church. But
Ooh, okay. All right. You say all this, you want to say all of this about me, and yet and still, if you park the doors of the church house, that bitch is gonna burn smooth to the ground.
Possibly. Is that too much?
But you won't get on here and call me either, because I didn't go to church. Murph, get your boy, get him, get this man, because he over here tripping. Let's see.
Oh man, I had to do it, but I don't know.
I mean, you know what? The folks already know that I'm probably going to hell on full scholarship, but you don't have to rub it in.
I mean, I probably will. There's plenty of us who will be right there with you. We can't say too much.
Well, I just have to point y'all in the direction of the financial aid office or whatever. It's all right. We got it.
Yeah, just hope it's not set up like Howard.
Oh man! Why you messing with the HBCUs, bro?
Find out you got kicked. You got kicked out of Hell University.
Yep. Man, they talking about I ain't had no more money.
I ain't got no more money. I gotta spend a semester in purgatory.
That's terrible. Oh man! But no, I mean, I love HBCUs. I tell everybody all the time, I wish I would have stayed in it. I don't know how many times I said that here, but I guess actually that's a good question. So, Murph, we're gonna kind of make a quick segue in this moment. Murph, being a former athlete,
big dog? I'm here.
All right, being a former athlete.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges between picking a potential HBCU or what they would call a PWI? Are there any challenges? Like, is there is there no benefit of going to a predominantly white school versus HBCU?
So you say PWI, that's predominantly white institutions, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just for those listeners out there, like, what's PWI? I just want to make sure I clarified that.
Hey, man,
right on.
too.
Shut up. Murph,
what I'm learning is that we got people that listen to us, they really just want to be on the safe side, so I had to iron that out. But to answer your question, man, just with my experience, I was just going, at that time, who's going to actually give me the full ride for education, room, board, food, the whole 9, and plus weather. So, when I was coming along, though, man, I didn't get that many HBCUs.
Oh, really?
But when we played against them, we smashed them. So I went back, and it's interesting you asked me that question, because I was telling some of my former teammates who are coaches, and I'm asked them that same question. Why don't HBCUs try to recruit better talent? Because, like, we would smash them. And we weren't even a North Carolina or Duke, but we were going ahead. We knew we was going to win by at least 20.
Oh,
So maybe it was a lack of confidence. And on the flip side, maybe for the exposure for the PWIs as far as getting to the next level, as far as in the sports world. Okay. But for me, I'm just being real. I just wanted to go so I can get a full ride and enjoy the weather.
Okay. All right. And V, being a former athlete, cheerleader, and all that stuff, if you had a decision to make, which I don't know if it's still on the same level, but let's say you're a basketball player and your goal is to make the WNBA. What criteria would you go through if you got Grambling who wants you, but Alabama too?
I think it's one of those things where you have to put yourself in a position to succeed. And I think for a lot of HBCUs, they just do not have the funding. They don't have the exposure. So for me, hypothetically, because I'm short. So I was an okay basketball player. I wasn't super great. I did make, all district teams or whatever, but I wasn't about to be some state ranked basketball player. So, reasonably speaking, if you are one of the top recruits in the country, you go where you have the best opportunities to play and get exposure. Because if you put yourself in a position where you go to an HBCU, but you're the best player there by leaps and bounds, so you're dropping 50 or 60 a night, but nobody else is, you put yourself in a position where you either get hurt because you're playing an exorbitant amount of minutes so that you win. You tire yourself out, you burn yourself out, because a lot of the times what happens, especially with female athletes, is that they're gonna stay and play 4 years. There's no rush for them to go to the WNBA or any of that. They're gonna go. Just saying, they're gonna play 4 years, get an education. If they want to go, they'll go. So I think it's one of those things where you just put yourself in the best position to be successful. So, like Murph was saying, if truth be told, if I have to put myself in the best position, I'm going to go somewhere where I can play. I know I'm going to get some exposure, get a chance to possibly play in the women's tourney, but I'm also going to look at things like factors like how much of a scholarship are they getting here? Are food, a room and board included in this? Am I going to get a full ride or is this a partial scholarship? Because at the end of the day, especially for women athletes, is playing in the WNBA really that lucrative, especially for people that aren't necessarily superstars?
Now, they actually make more playing overseas, actually, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Maya Moore, or a lot of them, when the WNBA season is done, they gone overseas, bro.
Yeah.
To try to supplement their income. So if you know at the end of your time in college, you about to go play professional ball, but still have to play ball year round to make any kind of money, why wouldn't you put yourself in the best position to be successful? Because at the end of the day, you got a regular shit. You got a fucking regular ass job.
Yeah.
And also, Q and VJ, to VJ's point, if you in that HBCU and you averaging 60 a game, they gonna look at your quote unquote level of competition.
They gonna say it's padded stats.
To some extent. They're
I'm
gonna
just
say
being real.
They're gonna say it's padded stats, and they're gonna say, well, they didn't play anybody. Because even with NCAA, we're talking about football. Like strength of schedule plays into that.
Come on.
Strength of schedule plays into whether or not you make the tourney. So so if you went undefeated, but you played, a bunch of nobodies, and they just like, well, what the fuck? What are we? Okay, we don't know if y'all good or not. You didn't play nobody.
See, and I always wondered that because I'll just take the NFL for example. There's plenty of Hall of Famers who came from I would say potentially the best running back and best receiver of all time came out of HBCUs. And that's Jerry Rice and Walter Payton. Of course, that was 80s and, so on
that
and so
was
forth.
many, many moons ago.
I'm just saying, though. But the thing that I also noticed when it comes to things like football, you're good or you're good. Because even then, you got guys from Alabama. There's plenty of guys who wash out from these major powerhouses because they are playing next to other great talent, which makes it a little bit easier for them. If you're really going to be honest.
I agree, but I think you're right, especially with football. You're either good or because football is a team sport. Like they all are, but I think that it's one of those things where if you're good position-wise, you're going to be good regardless.
Yeah. Now, if you're regular average against lesser talent, Josh Allen at one point, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But if you're just average against that, then yeah, I'll have to question that. But if you're like extraordinary playing at this level, then you still kind of have to recognize the talent. But I was just wondering, just to kind of put context to it, it's been coming up a lot more because there's the number one recruit in 2019 is actually entertaining the idea of going to an HBCU, or at least he's stating that.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if they're going to give him, a full ride, or maybe that's something that's not important to him, but it's the saying you have to weigh your options. But it's also one of those things, if you're the top recruit and then you go to an HBCU, that does give that HBCU exposure because you're a top recruit. So people are going to want to see you play, or at least you're going to put your school on the map somewhat because people are going to want to see him play. Now, after the first couple games, if he doesn't necessarily perform, the team doesn't perform, people will eventually lose interest.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you have to contend with, especially when you're playing in these smaller markets, because your team is not going to get the TV exposure. You're not going to have a bunch of people, getting your highlights to ESPN, that type of thing. You're not going to be a household name like you would if you go to a bigger school. But if that's not something that's necessarily important to him, then I guess it doesn't matter because he can only do so much. You can put your school on the map, but if you're the only recruit going there, you can't play every position on your team.
Because it's probably like just overlooked. I put it like this, overestimating it, because they've always talked about how if kind of like similar with the NFL, if a bunch of them decide to do the same thing, they can change the tide for these particular schools. Like if you had top 10 talent going, saying, "Yeah, we're all gonna go to Grambling," or "We all gonna go to TSU or PV or whatever to play," it could potentially, like you said, bring more notoriety and attention to that school and even to the conferences altogether. But it does require people to kind of take that sacrifice or that first step into it.
And it require it being more than one person. And that's the thing. Like him by himself is not it's gonna be short term. It's gonna be short lived. If they don't have a good season, they're not gonna keep televising games, no matter how good he is in his position.
Yeah. That's true. But, I'm just bringing it out there, putting the idea, you never know. I remember Uncle Luke was telling us what folks should do and all that stuff went down in Miami, but I don't know.
Murph, what say you, Murph? What do you think? Should he actually bite the bullet and go to an HBCU?
When I do I like to say the why not sports side. Just if he wants, and you brought up another good point. Like if he do go there, and then the first two games they get smashed by Florida State or the Gators, because that's who they typically play at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
they be like, yeah, he ain't gonna get that much, publicity or that much TV time. But if he can bring another person with him, now let's go.
Yeah. When you think about it all starts with a couple of players. Because how many times, just think about how many times Baylor. When Baylor started coming up, and you knew Baylor was like the stepchild of the Big 12. But when everybody started going there,
redheaded stepchild, bastard stepchild.
I'm just saying, like
we used to talk bad about Baylor, honey.
Yeah, if you saw Baylor on your schedule, you're like, oh, that's a dub. Who we got?
That was a day game. We would get pissy drunk and be out there hooping and hollering like we be drunk at 6 a.m.
That's what I'm saying.
Not a care in the world. Not a concern about losing. None of that. Like, oh, it's Baylor. All right, we can show up late.
Now, of course, it's probably not the same contextually because they are still a D1, but they were like a lower tier. But they were able to build themselves into a, dominant program until, all the
until they started, raping everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they fucked up. But hey, they had their moment. I'm just saying, but
it's real.
Stop raping people. PSA. Stop raping.
Please. Just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Quit it. Quit, please.
It shouldn't be that hard to come by nowadays. Or just in general, if you got the juice like that. But, I mean, for those guys struggling, they still got fleshlights and sex dolls.
Don't matter. Quit, please.
That's what I'm just saying.
Quit, please. No raping. 2018, 2019, forever and ever. Thank you. Love you.
From here on out.
By a certain time, and I tell this story a lot, by a certain time, if you, let's say 1 o'clock, if you ain't got their interest,
that's a wrap.
Just go ahead, call it a night, and try again tomorrow.
Amen.
I'm just saying. I've lived through it. And that's a whole other show. But student athletes, NFL stars, or professional athletes, hey, y'all, by a certain time, you already got a target on you anyway.
Don't do it.
They plotting. So the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be for the outcome. If you don't get no type of negative publicity at the beginning, give it some time. Look how many people all of a sudden coming out from things that happened years ago.
Right. Truth will always come to the light.
Look, you can only hide so much, man. Look, it's what you do. You just give her your number and she call you at 3 a.m. You know what's up. You got selected.
Okay.
And the big homie ain't waiting on no phone calls.
That's a lie. That's a lie. 3 a.m. Bitch be sleep. I don't want
that's
nobody
what I'm about to say. We just left the club at what, 1:30, 2 o'clock? Yeah, I'm about ready. I'm sleep.
If you got to go home, think about it, weigh your options, dance around your room, get out your Mel Kiper big board, draw some things out, check out some other prospects, see what the trade picks look like and the interest is. You got to do all that before you call back. I'm not, put your board on.
Hey, VJ, they stout.
Yeah. Exactly. They calling other people they know, running scouting reports, asking if they know you and shit. It's 2 a.m. Make up your mind. I'm gonna go home. You either coming to or you going to your house and going to sleep.
You trying to tell me that you ain't have that selection? Everybody when they were just dating had like a top 3.
Yeah, but you're not gonna
do that at 3 a.m.
That's all I'm about to say. Come on, Q.
Hey, look, some folks do, man. They wake up.
You ain't run no scout report on no Saturday morning. No. No.
Men and women. And VJ, you can agree or disagree, but I would love your feedback. You knew by that night your first 3 options.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
You see what I mean? Now, by a certain time, okay, let me call the first one. All right. By the second, then, and if the second one come through, then you can say the third one as a reserve for the following week or another day when you available.
I ain't gonna lie. One of the most a-hole things I did was made an appointment with like the third stringer, and then my first string called back, so I had to make a reason why I couldn't go back.
Come on,
over to the third.
Come on, thank you. So you agree?
Man, something came up, so I ain't gonna be able to make it tonight.
Can I take a rain check?
Well, if she third string, she probably was just happy that you called, so that just means that she was probably okay with you canceling.
But you had to make it up, though, Q. I know you did.
He had to circle back, but she probably was like, okay.
I think I just had to have like a brief conversation just to show,
I'm really sorry. I promise I'll make it up to you. I'm so sorry. I was looking forward to seeing you. The normal shit you got to tell people to get them off your ass.
I mean, everybody been there. Y'all don't. We all been.
Yeah, long time ago.
Right answer.
Many moons ago, I might have one time told somebody something like that. in passing, but I can neither can confirm nor deny that I did such a thing.
Got you. I understand. You know.
Love it.
I don't know. You would have to speak to my attorney. I don't know.
He pleads the fifth. Bro.
I don't know anything about that.
Hey, your PR person prepare a statement for you.
iOS press. Well, I don't even need. You don't need PR no more. You got to do it like the stars do it. You got to write out a badly written, poorly constructed note on your iPhone where you leave out all the punctuation and the capitalization, and then you post it to Instagram.
See, I thought they supposed to have stuff to correct all that for me. That's
so you ain't never seen them notes they be posting on Instagram. And it's got the little words underlined in red. They see the words underlined in red, and they still fix them.
So they just a little slow. Okay, gotcha. That's all they.
It's like, I know you see them red lines in them sentence. Oh, come on now.
They thought it was just highlighting those words just so to emphasize it. I don't know.
Well, speaking of somebody that love to post some grammatically incorrect shit, Cardi B has canceled her upcoming tour with Bruno Mars.
Mm-hmm. And why you picking on Cardi about her grammar though, man? That's kind of messed up, man. You know she just not getting used to this fame stuff. But go ahead.
Well, baby, non-famous people can read and write. What you saying? Well, baby, what are you trying to get at?
Hey, I'm just saying, maybe I don't know. I was trying.
She ain't been famous for like 2 years. She had all the time to learn to read and write, baby. She didn't just get here.
Has it been 2 years already? Damn. Okay.
The point, she can read and write. She can read and write to some extent. It's just poorly worded grammatically, and not everybody writes well. People can speak well and orate well and just not be good writers. So maybe that's it for her. I don't know. Potentially. But the point is that she dropped a baby, and then her and whichever one of the Migos which one is she with? Is it Offset? Offset. Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
Yes, that one. Whichever one of the Migos it is. Fun fact, when they first dropped that song with Drake or whatever at 70,000 years ago, I was under the impression it was one person until I realized there was three of them. I thought it's very similar to Travis Porter and how I thought it was one of them. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So fun fact, I thought it was one of them. So I found out there was three of these little gremlin people, and she's married to one of the little gremlin people. Offset. Yes, that one. So they had a baby and they named it something. Culture with a K.
Culture with a K. Yeah.
Culture Kiari Cephas.
Yeah, what's with Hollywood people naming their children weird things? But never mind, go ahead.
When your kid's rich, they don't got to work, so you can name whatever the fuck you want.
I guess they don't have to worry about them putting it on their resume.
They ain't got to put on their job application, so they can name it whatever they want to name. When you ain't got to go to work, your name can be anything.
Yeah.
So she canceled her tour, and apparently the girls are in an uproar because they can't see Cardi B because she wants to spend time at home with her child, and she won't be on tour with Bruno Mars, and the girls have lost their shit, and they have said all kinds of other things to that poor girl. And I just want to take this opportunity to tell y'all that honestly, like, people have babies. I have mad respect for them because I hadn't dropped a single one out of my vag, and I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. But from the times I've been somewhere where somebody did it and I had to watch, it does not seem like an easy feat. It seems like you have to gestate this child these whole 9 months. It seems to be very stressful. People get diabetes. They get put on bed rest. The kid drains all your energy, all your resources, all your food, and then you have to push it out. It may split you from rooter to tutor. You got to try to heal from that, and you still got to feed it because now it's out here and it won't let you sleep. So honestly, if she wants to stay at home with that baby, y'all let her stay at home with that baby. Y'all being real crazy over that woman. And I just feel like some of y'all are starting to get to the point where y'all just take being a fan of somebody too seriously. Y'all need to back the fuck up and let these people live their lives. I understand that parts of their lives are available for consumption, but you can buy all of her songs on iTunes. So please do that.
But she's supposed to do everything for me, though. She's not supposed to have a life outside of what I see.
But here's the thing. I feel like social media has made stars very accessible. It has given them platforms to say things and do things that many moons ago are things that we would have never seen from our favorite stars. There used to be an era of mystery around them. You did not get this type of access to them. And I think that it has made the relationship that we have with entertainment very, very interesting.
Yes. Everybody takes everything personal now. We got the famous D Murph here. I'm sure he can attest to all of
this. Man, I'm humbled, man. I'm really not famous. I'm just out here, man, just taking advantage of the opportunity that's presented, man. That's all. But I will say this, though. I will say this, and I read that article with the Cardi B and Bruno for a couple of things. To her defense, when she probably had the baby next to her while she was, posting online first. And then number two, I mean, if you have kids, as we know, it's a lot of things going on in this world that even something as small as pushing back a tour or a concert is huge, man. So, I mean, I didn't think it was bad, but.
I mean, I guess I could see both sides, right? Because I think there's a lot of money and things and promotion and stuff that goes into that. And I think that she maybe thought that she would bounce back and be able to take in her mind,
her first one. Yeah.
She thought she'd be able to bounce back and maybe take the baby with her on tour. I think that she maybe underestimated what it was going to be like to have a newborn.
That's what I agree with that.
Yep. And I think that's what happened because, that, and then they were saying how having a baby on tour and it's fresh out wouldn't be healthy for the child either. So I mean,
that's what the doctor said. Yeah.
There's a point where you just got to make a business decision and say, "Hey, look, I understand there's money involved, but I myself can't do it because of a family obligation." Unfortunately, people, I hate to say this in 2018, family does still matter to some folks. Taking care of your family, taking care of your kids does take priority over some of the things out here. So,
which is why y'all should leave that woman alone. Just because y'all daddies left for a pack of cigarettes 26 years ago and didn't come back, don't mean y'all got to get on the internet and harass that poor girl about wanting to stay at home with her baby. Y'all do too much.
So that's where my daddy went. Damn, I thought you.
So that's my brother. He done made another family. Oh, my bad.
I knew I recognized that dude at the 7. Now, you stop.
I met a dude at 7-Eleven that looked just like me.
But our fathers around that time, that's what they was doing.
Yeah.
Hey. My brother, I'm the middle. It's an older one and a younger one. We all a year apart. Facts.
Mm-hmm. Slanging it around.
See,
I'm just saying. So,
and,
I'm telling on myself because I understand. So that's it was jokingly, but I lived through it.
Hey, I feel that. My pops, they didn't bounce. They just didn't work out because they was young. So, my dad's pull-out game was kind of atrocious. So he had me at early age. So I'm just saying, he was a kid, basically. He was still 18. So.
Did you have to use an SAT word to describe his pull-out game?
I had to, man, just to give
atrocious.
Just so people understand, how bad it was.
Copy that.
Atrocious. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be so funny, but God.
I mean, I don't know, man. I just look at it like, and because I guess I'm kind of old school, even though I'm young, I do think family first. Well, family is priority versus a lot of other things that's just out here in the world to me.
Well, yeah, I agree. But a lot of people aren't close to their families. They don't do shit with their families, and that always that weirds me out, honestly. Like, I think I don't know. That just kind of, I'm just like, you what now? And y'all don't, and y'all what? And you what?
Hey, look, you'd be surprised on how humble we should be if you just have a regular conversation with your parents or cousins and people because when you hear about people's story with their family, you like, God damn, man, y'all just stay beefing, huh? Because they just don't get along or they don't interact with each other or I swear I met some
just feel
family.
Blessed. You feel blessed and humbled and just glad that you have a close family unit because there's some people out there that they struggled growing up. They struggle with their, family, now. It's something every time. Like, they can't get ahead in life. They can't have anything. They can't, they in therapy.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
it just...
Look, that's kind of like even then when you talk about just the fact that you have your father's number and you know that nigga first name. I mean, just the small things, though, that people don't ever think about. So, let that woman live.
Oh, man. one last thing, I guess. Sherri Shepherd. Comedian Sherri. Yeah, so comedian Sherri Shepherd was on Breakfast Club the other day, and she was talking about her son. Now, this is the same one, Sherri D. Shepherd, who had a baby with another man, and now he's wanting child support, and and she don't want to pay the child support, but that's a story for another day. So if you haven't read that story, you should read it. It's fascinating. I don't know. It's a lot about eggs and reproduction and rights to eggs and.
Oh, okay.
It was deep. It's deep.
And deciding to have babies and then reneging on the baby. And I listen. I didn't know you could renege on a baby like this.
How do you do that?
She did it.
Okay. So I guess you just stuff it back in.
Well, I think what happened is that they wanted to have a baby, so but she didn't want to have the baby, so they got a surrogate for the baby, but it was her, or it wasn't her egg, but they had decided to use someone else's eggs, maybe. But she agreed, basically they agreed to parent this child together, but through a surrogate with egg and sperm or whatever. Baby gets here, they divorce, and she's like, nah, that's not my kid, G.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I don't want none of that. I'm not going to pay for that. And of course, we're like, oh, we beg to differ, honey. You're going to have to pay some child support because you agreed to have this baby and now you don't want it. So she definitely tried to renege on her egg and sperm baby. And that didn't work out. But anyway, so now we're going to talk about her real baby, the one that she claims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He apparently goes to a predominantly white school, and she was saying that she is having a hard time with him currently because he says that he likes white girls and that black girls are mean to him. And my first reaction was to get up in arms and be like, who told him that, and why are these girls being mean to him? And then he said that she was saying that he basically was like, they just, roll their neck at me, and the white girls, they are very friendly and they want to touch my hair. And so I wanted to, talk to you two gentlemen about your experiences with white girls at your schools.
Oh, Murph, go ahead, bro.
Oh, you gonna let me go first?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna let you set the tone on this one. Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, coming up, it really wasn't a big thing for interracial that I witnessed. I didn't really see it as quote unquote normal until I went away for school. But I think this is going to always be a conversation until we are no longer here on this earth. But for Sherri Shepherd's son, and I was reading some comments, they said because he was there for 2 of her divorces, she probably scared the mess out of him to where he like, yo, I don't want to deal with this. And I was like, I didn't think of it like that. I'm just being real. They said he said that, just look at it like this, y'all. She's already been divorced twice. And people know Sherri Shepherd got a mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, so, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that is right because obviously I got a sister. You know what I'm saying? I got 2 beautiful men created, with her. But for his case, he probably was like, yo, this can't be normal. Different men, and they all scared. Now I'm scared or spooked. I don't know if I want to go that direction. So I just think he just need a better example. That's all.
Okay. That could be it. Do you think that proximity matters? Like if he was around more black girls, would he still consider them to be mean?
That's a good question. I will say proximity, it will help. Because there's some guys, even in high school, I ain't gonna say their names, but they didn't like black women. And we was in a majority black school, but they didn't like black women. They were just like, yo, I need another persuasion. So there's always exceptions, and you got those ones that have, like you said, like them pedophiles, they got a type. This one had a type, no matter if it was one. He like, I'm gonna get that one. That's what's mine. That's what I need.
Oh wow. Oh jeez.
Yeah. So, I know.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
and he ain't been right since to this day, by the way. He had 4 kids and 3 of them by different women that's not black.
Ooh, he doing a lot, huh?
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying.
Bouncing from white woman to white woman, Lord. It's all right.
I think to answer your question, though, V, I think potentially yes. So I think he goes to a majority white school.
Correct.
And for some reason, I mean, I haven't really been at a majority white school most of I guess it's like elementary school, but I can assume that being in like middle school to high school, you kind of got to be more defensive because you're in the majority. Because this will probably be a question for my old lady because she started off as a bully when she was there because people kept testing her. So I don't know, and that's another thing you got to see is like, are they quote unquote mean because they deal with a lot of BS there? Is he kind of just lame and they don't really know how to address him? So the only thing they can do is say, "Ugh, get away from me." So I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's kind of a perfect storm, right? Especially when you're in a minority in a school. Because if he is in a minority and he's one of very few black boys, and there's also probably very few black girls. Mm-hmm. And I think that your experiences are very, very different because what you find is that mostly for black women, they are less likely to date outside of their race. So then they see him as, you know, one of the other little black boys that go to school there, but his interests are with white women, and they're just like, well, dang. Yeah. That sucks. I mean, and it just kind of puts you in a shitty position because most black women don't really date outside their race for the most part. I mean, obviously there are outliers for this, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but the percentages don't lie. Far and away, most black women marry black men.
That's true.
But even then, so, like, based on numbers, we all marry each other for 83% of us.
We do. But I think that for black men, they are more likely to also kind of test the waters and date interracially, whereas black women may not do that.
See, I always wondered that.
You may not end up with a white lady, but a lot of times black men are more willing to maybe date other races and then still end up with a black woman when it gets time to settle down and have a family.
See, I never dated anyone outside of my race.
What's your definition of date?
Yeah, because he out here date. Like he's
I was like, I can't talk because of my experience, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay, all
right. So what are y'all trying to say? Honestly,
I mean,
y'all trying to say, look, I've never taken a white girl out to Chili's, but it did let her be in my dorm room. Is that what y'all trying to get at?
I mean,
I was a former jock. So I'm
okay. So what you trying to say? You had all the white women in your dorm?
Yeah,
I had.
You know that scene.
Several white women.
Well, you know that scene in He Got Game.
I was just,
you know,
I was balanced with my time and attention. There you go.
So y'all did what black men tend to do. Y'all like to play in the snow for a little while, and then when the snow melts, y'all like, all right, I'm good. I've had enough.
Yeah, it's
but I'm
one
being
of those things,
real
like,
though. And a lot of mine was proximity though.
Yeah, I mean, if she come through, you'll be like, all right, yeah, cool. But if she starts saying, "So what are we?" You be like,
it's a difference. It's a boundary. You know what I mean? So
proximity does matter.
For me, it did. For me personally, it did.
Yeah, and I think also what this kind of also plays a role
and being young too. That's another thing that, I'm 17, 18. Like, man, you know.
Because I can think of it like this, too. It's funny because I joke about this with my wife because when you are the black male at a mostly white school, you're usually going to be more popular. Anyway.
Fact.
Because white people love black culture, and black men are the carriers of black culture, and they want to be as close to it and in tune with it as they can be.
And don't be an athlete, because then you're definitely the most popular guy. You're in every sport. You're starting on everything. You're on every club team or every organization, so on and so forth. So everybody knows you. Now I don't know how that is for black women. I don't know if it's going to be the same or probably a little bit less. Because
it's
now you're considered okay. There you go, V. I'm sure
it's not.
You can speak to that.
It's not at all. Like I've never had any of my white classmates be romantically interested in me at all.
See? And I think that's where a lot of the differences.
Now, Q, can I ask this question?
Yo, go ahead.
Because 3 weeks ago, I'm not gonna say no name, but it's a young lady that is Afrocentric. But she said if this white guy asked her to go out, she would do it. Even though she don't quote unquote date out of her race, and he got some soul to him.
Okay.
So VJ, with that statement, that just alerted me to ask that, because I asked her the same thing. So if he got soul, but he not black, like a John B-ish.
Oh, okay. Dang, John B.
Would I
said everybody
still
back
entertain that?
Well, here's the thing with that. I am very wary of white men who seem to be like super hood adjacent or like super or seem to be very black but not black. It's like, I feel like be yourself. And if that is genuinely you, then that will come out. I am not, like I said, I am not particularly keen on the idea of dating white people because honestly, as nice as I've met fantastic white people and they are very nice, I don't feel like they're racist, but I still cannot shake the feeling that if they get mad enough, they're going to call you the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
At home. I don't know. In my mind, I feel like weird slave cosplay. Like I see it in my mind. Like I know it may not be true, but in my spirit, I feel it. And I just don't want to do that. I don't want to be involved in that. So I'm just not really interested. So white people are not like, and that's the thing. I grew up, like, the school I went to, like, all of my classes or whatever, I was in, like, the advanced classes. Like, most of the people I hung out with were white. Like, I'm not going to, proximity-wise, like, besides playing sports, as far as, like, classes and clubs and stuff, I was always with some white people. So it's not even like I have a problem with white people. Like, most of my closest friends were white. Like, yeah. So it's not necessary, but I just never was attracted to the white people that I was sitting around or with in class. And I don't think that any of those white boys were attracted to me. And if they were, they didn't want their daddies to try to, pop them in the back of the head with a butt of a shotgun. Tell me, don't be bringing that nigger girl here. So
yeah, he ain't gonna get his inheritance.
Exactly. So they might have been into me, but they weren't gonna say nothing. So it is what it is. And so I think that you kind of, for me, I'm not saying that I would never date a white man, but I think that would be a very, very hard sell for me because I just feel like if you, like, to me, it would be very much like dating like the male version of like a Kardashian or something.
Oh,
like
no.
You see, like it would feel like he was being a culture vulture, right? Like because it's like you can be white and just be yourself. Like I think you can have an appreciation for black people. You can be not racist. You can enjoy rap music and other things. You can enjoy learning about different cultures without being an appropriator of those cultures and being weird and inauthentic. And if I found somebody like that, I wouldn't have a problem with dating them. But too many times you run into these people that try too fucking hard. I don't need you to be John B to date you. Like John B is John B. Be whoever you are.
Yeah.
See, I can say this. And Murph, I don't know if it's the same for you. Part of the reason why I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in white girls was my mom coached me up on them. And of course, it was very, I guess you could say, very generic on how she was saying, but it's
if they can't use your comb, don't bring it home.
Well, not just that, it was just like, when you look around and you see like all these situations that some of these guys end up with, it had to deal with some white woman in a misunderstanding, and I'm like, I don't want none of that. So I kind of
think that's the problem.
I was afraid of them. I was like, I'm cool because if you just misinterpret anything I do, that's a wrap on me. And I don't want them.
And I think that's the problem. I think it's not that the country is upset by people interracially dating or that we necessarily care or upset about it. I think it just comes from a place where historically white women's place in history has been to uphold white supremacy and doing it through white tears and whatever else. And so when you look at it that way, we as black women very often have a mistrust of white women. So then when black men go and date them, we're just like,
my nigga, what you doing? That type of
I mean, in some ways that is wrong. And I know a lot of it is just internalized and times do change and not every white person is that way. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's one of those things where if you're going off the history that we have with these people and the ways in which they have been able to oppress us, it's just like, why would you want somebody who does not understand your struggle and you know what I'm saying? It's very hard to fathom. And I think we've gotten to a point where now we're like, look, date whoever makes you happy. Just don't get mad at us if they do some weird, wild racism, microaggression shit to you. Don't come crying to us because we don't want to hear about it.
We gonna hit you with that I told you, but
I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are good people in the world. There are bad people in the world, regardless of race. There are people that are going to do and say shit that they have no business, regardless of race. So if you go out and pick somebody that is racist and you just are cool with that, that's on you. Look at whatever twin that is, Tamara. She married that Fox News anchor, and every time she gets on television, she want to complain to us about how hard it is for her to be in an interracial relationship. No, sis, it's not hard.
It's hard to be with him.
It's hard for you to be in an interracial relationship with a racist. It's not hard to be in one. It's hard to be a woman with a racist. Well, that's really what it boils down to. Date whoever you want to. Just make sure they're not a racist. That's it.
Well, he thought he was dating the white side of her. So, he said, you keep that black side dormant. I don't care about this shit. But,
facts.
But just straighten your curls.
She cried a lot, man. She cried a lot.
Oh, yeah. Talking about people calling her a bed wench and a black white man's whore. Like, she said she got all kinds of, and I feel sorry for her. People genuinely said those things to her because you don't ever want somebody to be harassed. But it's like, girl, you had to know some of this was coming.
But it's like, but it goes also. This is a good. They do the same to Serena Williams, but the whole time when Serena was single, they used to say, "Oh, she ugly. She look like a man. She this and she that." But as soon as she finds somebody that just want to be with her, now you're like, "Oh, Serena, why you going to the white dude?" And it's like y'all want to give her no action.
But then I think the same can be said for black men. There's that section of black men that say they started dating white women because they didn't get any play from black women. So is it now the same thing?
I don't know, because I always wondered that. Like,
that's a lie.
Because you get those ones that are like, I used to, none of the black girls that I tried to talk to wanted me, and that's when I started dating.
They wanted the more popular ones.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a popularity thing at the end of the day, though.
Murph, point of the night.
But then,
I know guys like that to this day.
Because
Murph, she didn't give me a hard time. Like, bro, you knew she was the most popular girl in high school. And you gonna try to holler at her when you barely... Like, come on.
No,
never mind. Yo, go ahead.
You need to know your game. Know your shot, right?
Well, I mean, but then there's this whole phenomenon of telling people to, pull up from half court. Do you never know what's going to happen. But I mean, and that's fair. But I also feel like if you always shoot for the tippy top and it never hits, there's nothing wrong with being like, okay, well, maybe I need to reevaluate some things. Because I could be flying around the country trying to throw myself at every basketball player, millionaire around, but I'm fairly attractive. I'm not Instagram model attractive. So my chances here are kind of, it may work, but it may not. I may have to be in Milwaukee for it to work, but
come on.
I can't go to Miami and expect that to work, but I could probably hit like an Oklahoma, maybe.
I'm just saying though, it's like people, they want to shoot their shot, but they don't know their skill set. So it's like, look, at the end of the day,
oh Lord, who you telling?
You know what's good, and you know what's on, what you can get. But,
just trying to be like Shaq shooting threes. You know that's not what you're supposed to be at. Don't do that. You know that's not for you.
He made one out of his career, and he never did it again. He like, you know what? I made it. I ain't gonna test it.
So then that's them. If they want to keep shooting at the stars and then eventually they hit the star, good. But you can't just be like, fuck all the stars because you ain't hit the right one yet. One of them, I guess, eventually one will hit.
They say they would be like Swaggy P out here. I'm just pulling up wherever. It don't matter.
You do what you gotta do, but I wish people would quit that narrative of all the black dudes didn't like me, so that's why I date white men, or the black girls didn't like me, so that's why I date white people. Well, then that just...
And I ain't get that because you got a lot of black nerds who will come out and say that, yeah, I was a nerd, and they like, that's it, nigga, I was a nerd too. I was a nerd and an athlete, and I didn't have issues. So you could just be a nerd, but I think there's a difference between being a nerd and being lame. Socially awkward. Yes, there's a difference. And they try to blame it on them being a nerd. And I'm like, no, because there is too big a sect of women who are into cosplay and video games and anime and cartoons and shit. The same shit that you were into for you to be dateless. Mm-hmm. That means you didn't want them. That means that the people that are into the same things that you were into, you didn't want them. You went out and tried to find somebody who thought the shit was lame and wondered why they didn't want you. He wanted the head cheerleader or the chick on the dance team, or that's my whole thing. When I hear that, I always got to question it. Like, okay, what are you talking about, really? What do you mean by that? Bro? That's a whole nother. We can get in that next time.
Murph is right. That Murph made the best point of the night. Folks trying to do shit that don't have nothing to do with them. You're trying to blame people for your bad judgment. You got poor judgment and you want to blame people.
Appreciate
that. Murph, man, we give folks your handle again and what you got going, where they can find the show next time you drop in all that good stuff.
Oh man, well no, I appreciate it. We put in some work, like you said. It's been over an hour and a half, and time flew.
Yeah.
So I appreciate y'all. VJ, look forward to having you on the Flagrant 2 real soon.
We ain't gonna talk about how she tried to body you before we got on, but go ahead.
Oh man, I wasn't gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? I was showing my hospitality for the world, but now you say something now. But world, hey, I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Dope episode with VJ and Q. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at It's D Murph. Email me, It's D Murph at Yahoo, and that's ITSDMURPH. Somebody thought it was ITZ, so they had to DM me on social media. So now I got to spell it out. So, yeah, okay. So yeah, DMURPH at Yahoo, and I'm the host of the 2 podcasts currently that's everywhere where you consume your podcast. Why Not Sports is the first one, where VJ again, another dope episode. Big Roy is back. You can find that one on every Monday, and we talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of sports and how it impacts your everyday life. In addition to the Flagrant 2 with D Murph, where everyday people is having everyday conversations, talk politics, religion, laughter, comedy, whatever, relationships, whatever. We talk about it, and it's real dope. And both of you guys have been a part of, some more than others, but I'm working on making sure it's balanced. So that's where y'all can find me. Appreciate y'all having me on and tuning in.
Oh man, no doubt, man. So you already know you can catch me at _Q_the_great or Gentleman Warlock on Twitter. You can also hit us up in the DM. Yeah, man, that's my Wu-Tang Clan name, man. You know.
That was fun. I know how you closing. That was fun.
Oh man, but yeah. So y'all can hit me up there. I am also on Facebook. Sometimes Facebook is a different spot, man. That's the only thing I can say. But you can hit me up on there too. It's just Quentin Simpson. And you can also hit up the show Twitter at V. You got that?
Chopping it up _pod.
There you go. I forgot to download the Twitter. It's not on there anymore. So, also, if you do want to email us, you can actually email us at choppingitupwq.podcast@gmail.com. Or, like I said, you can DM us as well. V, go ahead, tell them yet.
On Twitter and Instagram, it is at BJ_Burton. I think my current Twitter name is Ultralight Scheme. So you can you can type in that and you will find me. Facebook, I reactivated my Facebook after 5 years. So I am on Facebook. It is Vermeek Burton. Please quit DMing me. Thanks so much. Please stop. Y'all are very, very strange. Just stop. I've got like 3 marriage proposals. I'm deeply concerned.
So look, folks trying to shoot their shots and you block them. That's messed up.
Like, I was about to say, VJ, you was like, yeah, you know, looking for that special.
I don't know them. I don't know them.
Said this for the Flagrant 2. I'm getting off my host mode now, so I got some things to add to.
I don't know them. I don't know them.
Okay.
I don't know them. So anyway, the point of Facebook is to be on the book with the faces, and I see your faces in on your book, and so we've done that, and that's been great. Also, I play Words with Friends again now, so you should totally play Words with Friends with me.
She do cheat though, but that's all right. We coming back.
Somebody cheat you at a computer-based Scrabble game? What?
I mean, you probably got the dictionary, the thesaurus right next to you. Like, what I got? Oh yeah, this is gonna go.
That's why I stopped playing that game, man. We had some savages.
On Snapchat, it's Meek B. I don't know what he got going on. Ain't nobody cheating him at fake Scrabble. Ain't nobody cheating you at fake Scrabble.
Oh man, nah, man.
But that is where you can find me. If you are listening to the show on Twitter, please use the hashtag #ChopItUpPod. We will get back to you. We love hearing about what you think of the show and live tweeting it. You can always also use the hashtag Pod. If you Podin, PODIN, if you are listening, we also like that. So yes, talk to us about things you would like to hear us talk about on the show, things that you do not like about the show. If you would like me to shut up occasionally, you can tell me that too.
Yeah, that's fine. You got thick skin.
Listen, if I can survive being told that I look like a Ford F-150 on Twitter, I can survive anything. So I don't care what none of y'all say.
Okay, we got to hear that.
If I can survive that, then I can survive anything. So it don't matter. You can bring whatever you got to say to me. I'm not gonna be mad. But anyway, I digress.
Oh man, look, Murph, appreciate you coming through again. You know,
no problem.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's always dope when you come through.
Yes, we love having you on.
Thank you.
You know, I might actually get V in the same room with me on, you know, later on next week or so. But you know, we'll work that out. But other than that, appreciate everybody, you know, for listening, new listeners, old listeners, everybody who does shout out the show, anybody who hits us up, you know, you're always appreciated. Other than that,
thank you so much.
We up out.
Laters.
Peace.